We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. I want to talk with you today about a very difficult topic as you think about your interactions with narcissists in your life, and it's the topic of betrayal. I want you to just think, how many times, or how strongly perhaps we could say, have you felt just totally betrayed by somebody that you had once put a whole lot of hope into, only to find out that you were dealing with smoke and mirrors? Narcissists are masters at betrayal. Now, before we get into my comments about this, I actually had jotted down some common scenarios that I have actually heard about and talked with people about regarding this whole issue of being betrayed. And I want to go through some of these with you. And as I do, I want you to see if you can identify with some of the things that are represented in these scenarios here. For example, I've had people say to me something like, I'm the kind of person who goes all in for my relationships, but my partner was routinely unavailable. Where'd they go? What are they up to? I was stunned when I found out that my spouse had an affair, and we can actually add in a whole lot of other things, money laundering or tax problems or addictions, things like that. My whole world collapsed once I found out about it all. Another, I was a scapegoat inside my family. Growing up, my father raged and disappointed me more times than I could possibly count. In other words, that person betrayed their position of being a caregiver in this man's life. Or loyalty is my middle name. So I was blown away when I learned that my so-called best friend ridiculed me behind my back. What's that all about? Or I've been married for 30 years and just found out that my spouse's business is set up for me to receive almost nothing if we divorced. And he planned this from the very beginning of our relationship. It's terribly disillusioning. Or another person says, I was blown away by the lies told about me after myself and my partner parted ways. I couldn't believe what was being spoken. Or my daughter-in-law, another illustration, was so sweet when she first came into the family, but now she won't allow me to see my grandson. Or another person says, I started a business with a friend, and as it became clear that my friend was not able to carry his weight, we decided to go our separate ways. 2 weeks later, he filed a lawsuit against me. And these are just some illustrations, and I could go on, and I suspect you could add a whole lot more. Narcissists, by definition, have the ingredients necessary to be the consummate betrayers. Let's keep in mind that there are all sorts of ingredients that are necessary for healthy relationships to form. But no ingredient is more important than the characteristic or the trait of trust. You can have, you can talk about having good, healthy conflict resolution skills and shared values and patience and friendliness and all of that. But if trust is not part of, it's not central to a relationship, it will collapse. And of course, the lack of trust is what we're talking about when we talk about feeling betrayed. Basically, narcissists, by definition, are so self-indulgent. They're so entitled, they want to be in control, that for a while, they can give the appearance that says, oh yeah, I'm on board with you, or you and me, there's just certain things that we're going to accomplish together. But over time, you find out, even in their friendliest moments, they're just playing a role. They're not really going to reveal to you all sorts of hidden beliefs or preferences or schemes that they have going on in their life. Ultimately, in their mind, you don't know it up front, but in their mind, they're thinking, you're someone that can get me something that I want. Or, I don't really like you nearly as much as I let on that I actually do. or you ultimately owe me for what I'm going to try to do for you. Or between the two of us, I'm the better one, and eventually I hope that you're going to be able to concede that fact. They're quite willing to act with an attitude of entitlement, which then leads to an attitude or willingness to go into scheming and exploitation and manipulation. And they just want to get in life what they think they deserve. And if it comes at your expense, well, they're going to do it. And then the longer you don't know about it, in their mind, the better off they're going to be. Let's keep in mind that there are multiple ingredients or behaviors that are associated with a narcissist's willingness to betray you. For example, narcissists are quite willing to leak or spread information about you that should be confidential, or they're overtly disloyal. They can be prone towards sexual acting out or sidling up next to other individuals with an antagonist, or joining with a competitor. And that's what I mean when I say overtly. Although they cover it up, eventually you realize, wow, you were committed all the way to those kind of behaviors. In their sense of betrayal, they illustrate that they're quite willing to tell lies or half-truths about you, about whatever. You eventually find out that they typically have ridiculed you behind your back, and they'll even say things like, "Oh, that person's just a phony," or "They're a lightweight." They may mock you or laugh at you with other individuals about you being gullible, or just being impressed with who you are, so they say. They'll illustrate over time that their roles were simply phony. It's like, I'm gonna put on a mask. I'm gonna give you the pretense that I am a somebody that I'm really not, and then all the while they're thinking, and I'm getting away with it. Behind the scenes, these betraying narcissists hold on to lots of contempt and anger, which becomes fuel for them to say, well, I deserve whatever I should get. And often you don't really know what's at the base of their anger and contempt, but it does play out in their behaviors. And basically, it illustrates that narcissists ultimately are immersed in the characteristics that are a part of their dark side. Now, once you become aware of the betrayals that the narcissist has been invested in, it leaves you with all sorts of emotional discord, to say the least. For example, you're going to feel duped. You might feel as though your whole person has been completely discounted, and your self-esteem can be taken way down. You can feel very vulnerable. It's like, well, if this person's going to is willing to take advantage of me, who else out there might do the same? It might leave you feeling like you're a nobody. It might leave you feeling like you're afraid to open up and trust anyone ever again. Certainly, you can have all sorts of ongoing struggles with anger and resentment because of the betrayal that you've experienced. I mean, knowing that a narcissist commits their life to living behind a false self, and then comparing it with the fact that you're thinking, why would anybody do that? I don't want to live behind a false self. I want to be authentic. Isn't that what relationships are all about? It leaves you wondering, well, am I going to be able to move forward knowing that I have a certain value system that has been stomped all over? And my answer is, yes, you can move forward, but when you have been betrayed by this narcissistic individual, it does require you to examine certain insights or awarenesses so that you are not just going to be completely jaded for the rest of your life. Let me give you a few of those thoughts. For example, it's going to be important for you in the aftermath of having been betrayed to understand that a narcissist wants you to feel unworthy. They take your loyalty and they stomp all over it. And then they just more or less imply, well, you're just someone that I can play games with. And I'm hoping that you can realize, okay, that person has a low opinion of you, But it's a troubled soul that would be willing to do that. And I'm hoping you can see I don't want to filter my beliefs about me through that troubled individual. In addition, we'll also say that whatever the behavior is that the narcissist was doing that was part of the betrayal is not a commentary about you. Many times they'll use what we refer to as victim shaming or victim blaming. Well, I wouldn't have done this if you had given me the right ingredients, and they try to make it all about you. Do not buy into that. It's a commentary about who they are. Narcissists constantly have walls of defensiveness around themselves, and it still tends to show even in the midst of betrayal. In addition, you're going to have struggles with cynicism that's going to come because of your experiences with that person. And I wonder if you can learn how to trade in cynicism for skepticism. Skepticism says, okay, I need to weigh out the circumstances in front of me very carefully. Cynicism implies, but I'm going to do it with a built-in pessimism and negative attitude. Hold on to skepticism, but don't allow that betraying narcissist to taint you so much that you wind up having too much of a negative approach toward other individuals. You see, we're gonna underscore, if you're guilty of anything in the aftermath of having been betrayed, chances are you're guilty of being a willing person, or you're guilty of not being someone who wants to stir up trouble, so maybe you would go along to get along. You're guilty maybe of having given a person the benefit of the doubt. You may be naive with regard to people's scheming ways. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think those are characteristics that you have to apologize for. Let's recognize that sometimes narcissists love to take people who have goodness and decency and say, ooh, I'm going to make that work on my behalf. And unfortunately, that's just a truth that you're going to have to come to terms with. Now, all of this said, there's still decent people out there, okay? And so rather than letting this individual so destroy your thoughts about being able to connect well with other individuals, stay on your trajectory towards healthy living, and then realize that it's going to take patience for you to sift other people out as you try to determine how much trust you're going to offer with them and live with them in, but it can be done. I'm hoping that despite a narcissist betraying mindset, you can still remind yourself there's still decent people out there, starting with myself. Hold on to that. Okay. By the way, some of you have commented on how Gus tends not to lay on top of his blanket. It's a guy thing. I'm glad Gus is in here with me, and I think some of you are glad he's in here with me too. Okay, if you haven't already subscribed, I would encourage you to do so. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell that goes along with it. And I'm so pleased that you allow me to be on your journey with you. If you have a need for therapy, I'm so pleased that we have a sponsor that that has an online therapy service for you. You can go beneath the video, click the link, and you'll be introduced to a whole host of licensed professional therapists who can help you sift through these kinds of things. And if that's a need that you would have, I'd strongly encourage you to do so. In addition, I have my therapeutic courses, and these are very extensive. They're meant to guide you with videos and written materials and questions through all sorts of issues. One is called Ready, Set, Connect. It's about connecting in a very healthy way, aside from the narcissist unhealthy style. This is me. It's about establishing boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite the controllers. And so we have links below to that, and I think you would find those to be therapeutic. We also have other resources like my books. We even have a new podcast that's going to be coming along soon. So there are resources below that you can look into. All right, I know that it's very disillusioning when you have been on the receiving end of a narcissist betrayal, but I'm hoping that it strengthens your resolve that says, trust really is crucial to healthy relationships. That's who I'm going to be. And with my healthy skepticism, I'm going to have good boundaries so that I'm not going to be duped, because I want to be a person that lives with steadiness and decency. And ultimately, I want to be somebody that understands and lives inside the essence of peace.